I, 28, female, have been married to Greg, 30, male, for the past 3 years. Before that, we were together for another 3 years, so we've actually been together for almost 6 years now. We met each other through friends and hit it off instantly. So far, we've had a good relationship and I did not think that he had any reason to be unhappy with me. Things between us have only been weird for the past couple of months after he took a job out of state earlier this year. We live in Alaska, but about 10 months back, he told me that he had been offered a really big project in Pennsylvania and he chose to tell me about it a week before he was supposed to leave. He confessed to me that he had been offered the project and he had already signed all the paperwork and stuff to take up that job before even discussing things with me, and he had not brought it up until the last minute on purpose. The reason for that was because, during our second year of being together, there was a certain period of time of around 3 months when we had to do long distance because his grandmother was really sick and he and his family had flown down to London to visit her and be beside her during the last months of her life, and he had told me that he would be gone for 1 week, but that turned into 3 months and it happened really difficult for both of us. So I was a bit skeptical about the long distance, but that was different because that had just been during the second year of us being together. But now, we had been with each other for so long and we were literally married. So I felt like he should have at least discussed things with me, and it's not like I would have said that he shouldn't go because of course if it was a big business opportunity, he should have taken it up and I never would have stopped him from doing something that he wants to. The only thing that I thought that I deserved was a discussion, at the very least. Anyway, I did not want to fight with him and make this a big deal before he was supposed to leave. So I did not tell him how disappointed and hurt I was at the time and spent that last week before he left, trying to come to terms with the fact that for the next 10 months, I would have to be completely on my own. And I know that as a grown woman, I should be fine with these things, but it was still a very daunting thought. I did not let any of that show and I sent him off quite happily because I wanted him to feel good about his decision and not want him to worry about how I'd feel. After he was gone, it was hard for me to adjust because I hadn't even had any time to mentally prepare myself, which I would have had, if he had told me about it earlier, but eventually, in a few weeks, I got into the groove of living by myself. We would get on phone calls almost daily for the first few months, but then, something changed, and he started giving me the cold shoulder. After around 3 months, he started acting very weird. Our calls were less frequent, he started leaving me on red for hours and I just couldn't figure out what was going wrong. I kept trying to get him to talk to me, but he would just insist that he was busy and exhausted from work, and that was it. He did come to visit me around the 4th month, but even when he came back, I felt like in spite of being with me, he was not really there with me. And he just came back for 2 days, and even during those 2 days, he was on his phone half of the time and I was very upset about that. I had thought that things would improve after his visit and we'd be able to do better after he came to see me, but that did not happen, and after 6 months of being apart, I finally decided to call him and confront him about his weird behavior and told him that I was feeling very sidelined. I thought that he would care about my feelings, but instead, we got into a really bad fight on the phone and he told me that I was being too insecure and needy and that apparently this was just how I had been behaving the last time and was exactly the reason why he hadn't told me that we would have to go through a long distance relationship, because he knew that I would freak out and start getting needy again. That wasn't true because the last time that we were doing the long distance thing, it was both of us who were suffering and not just me. His aunt used to live in England, so there was also a time difference that we had to deal with, and both of us were feeling weird at that point in time the last time that this happened, so it was very unfair of him to put it all on me, and after that, I decided that was not going to put an effort into talking to him and I was very hurt. But 2 weeks after that fight, he came to visit me again and we were able to sort things out. I thought that things would finally start going back to normal, but after he went back, I received a huge shock when a friend of mine contacted me to tell me that she had caught him having an affair and even had photographic evidence. This friend of mine had been in Pennsylvania to visit her husband's family since he was from there, and they had been at a restaurant when she saw Greg cheating. Thankfully, he had not been able to notice her, and she had sneakily managed to capture some pictures of him which were undeniable proof of him cheating. He was sitting in a booth with his girlfriend, getting cozy with her, and snuggling in a very public place. I thought it was disgusting, not just because he was cheating, but it was just so weird to be doing things like that at a restaurant. Anyway, I couldn't even bring myself to believe it when I saw those pictures for the first time, and when I called up my friend to ask her what this was all about, she finally confirmed the news for me and I was in denial for a few days. I thought about confronting Greg, but I knew that he would also just deny it and was no point in doing so. I just did not know what to do and I didn't even work because I was so heartbroken. I couldn't bring myself to tell anybody about it because I felt like I was a fool, and for some reason, I was ashamed of myself, as if any of this was my fault. But after almost 2 weeks of mourning, I decided that I was going to get my life sorted out. During those 2 weeks, any time that my husband would text me, I would pretend like everything was normal and try really hard not to let anything show. He was not calling me anymore, and even when he would text, it would feel more like he was doing it out of obligation rather than because he actually wanted to, and now I finally knew why. To be honest, I was relieved that he did not call me during those 2 weeks, because if I had heard his voice, I might have broken down and confronted him. However, I did not do that, and I started getting my life in order because I knew that I was going to leave. I started separating my finances, and when he asked about it, I just made up some excuse about creating a new account in a different bank for better credit or something, and he bought it. Within a few days, I had even packed up all my things and had moved into a new apartment, but whenever my friends and family would ask if they could come over, I would meet them at my old house so nobody would get suspicious. For the past 6 months, after I had found out about his affair, I had been trying really hard to make everything seem normal and did not let anybody realize that I knew what was going on with Greg. Even the friend who had told me about the affair in the first place, I had requested her to keep quiet about it because I did not want this to reach other people, and she respected what I had asked her. I had something huge planned in mind, and last week, I finally got to put it into action. Around 3 weeks ago, Greg finally told me that he had been able to wrap up the project and was coming back home. When I heard that, I was thrilled because now, I could finally throw him a homecoming party that he would never be able to forget. So as soon as he told me that he was coming back home, I started planning everything, and I even told him that when he landed, I wanted him to come straight to the hotel that I had booked and not go home. He tried to argue with me and said that he would be too tired and stuff, but I told him that I was not going to take an answer and basically just forced him to come directly to the hotel after his flight landed because I did not want to waste any time. I convinced him that this was going to be a big surprise for him, and eventually, I got him to agree. Then, I invited all his friends, family, and coworkers to the party that I was throwing in his honor. Most of them agreed to attend, and the ones that didn't, I convinced them to be present on FaceTime because I said that this was really important for me. I even invited a few of my own friends and family because I wanted them to know what was happening. Finally, last week, I had the party and it was a total success. The guests had already arrived by the time that his flight had landed, and we only had to wait for around 15 minutes for him to show up at the hotel since I had picked one that was closest to the airport so we wouldn't waste any time. When he showed up, everybody was thrilled, and a lot of hugging and crying from his family and some of his friends. They were really happy and welcomed him warmly, and I was the last person to go up to him and hug him, and I even gave him a peck on the cheek. Then, I moved on to the speech that I had been preparing for and talked about how long we had been married, how great our relationship had been, and how much we loved each other. And throughout all of it, he had a really sweet smile on his face, but he did not know what was about to come. Towards the end of my speech, I announced that, even after all of this, after going through so much together, and in spite of being together for so long, Greg had still found reasons to cheat on me. And that's when everybody went silent because obviously they were all confused, including Greg, because I could tell from his face that he definitely had not seen this coming. After a few seconds of silence, I decided to do the big reveal and unfurled the banners, which were basically just humongous photos of him cheating, which had been printed on the banners all around the room. I even had some waiters bring in the massive cake that I ordered, which read "Welcome home, cheater." Yes, I've known about this for the past 6 months in frosting, and I thought it was pretty hilarious. Unfortunately, nobody shared my sense of humor, and once I was done with this, everyone was incredibly awkward, and that included my friends and family too. Greg was literally speechless. He had nothing to say, and when he finally did find the words, he said that I was sick in the head for planning something like this and executing it. He told me that I was deranged and that I needed serious psychiatric help because it was not normal for somebody to act like they were okay for 6 months and then do something like this. Then, he ran out of the party along with his parents and the rest of his family, who all kept glaring at me as they walked out. After that, pretty much everybody in the room started leaving and nobody really even said goodbye, but I didn't mind because what I had set out to do, I had accomplished it. The only people who stayed were a couple of my friends and my family members who then came over to me to comfort me, but I had already cried all the tears that I had to and I had nothing to say, so I just had that cake with them because I paid good money for it, and, once we were done with dinner, all of us went back home. I obviously went back to my own apartment because my old house was not my home anymore. It's been 1 week since then and I've filed for a divorce. I did that literally the morning after the party. I did not think that I would hear from Greg, and I knew that he would obviously not contest the divorce, but 2 days back, when he received the divorce papers, he decided to reach out to me and sent me an email saying that he was really disappointed with the way that I had chosen to deal with the situation, and said that if I had found out about his affair and I should have had the decency to confront him about it instead of trying to do something so extreme and disturbing. He told me that he hasn't been able to sleep or eat because of the humiliation that he has faced and nobody is speaking to him, not even his friends and family. And he is blaming me for all of this because I could have just kept things private instead of airing out our dirty laundry, but now, I've gone ahead and ruined him. So Ida for throwing a homecoming party just to expose my cheating husband? Update 1. So before I begin, thank you so much for all the comments. I had no idea that people would actually be so appreciative of what I did. That was really cool of you guys. Now that the party is over and everything that I have been planning for the past couple of months is done, the reality of the situation is kind of settling in. My marriage is actually over and I'm really getting a divorce. It's been 1 week since the party and I feel strange. But in a good way, to be honest. I think I have made my peace with the fact that my marriage is over. I did that really long back and now, it's just the legal formalities that are left to be dealt with. My friends and family have been really supportive of me and I am very grateful for that. My parents have been checking in on me and calling almost every day, and my friends have been texting quite frequently, just to make sure that I'm doing fine. And I appreciate that, but I don't understand why Greg is also trying to check on me. After he had sent that last message, I had blocked him everywhere, but now, he has created a new account on social media just to text me, and I haven't blocked that one yet because I'm curious as to what's going to happen with that. He keeps texting me, asking me if I'm doing fine emotionally or not. He also keeps telling me that he's going to sign the divorce papers in a couple of days. Before that, he wants to meet me in person and just as one last discussion with me for some closure because we've been married for quite a while and we've been together for even longer, so we owe this to each other. I don't know how to tell him that after what he did. I don't owe him jack. Anyway, he has been sending me these messages, in hopes that maybe I will respond to him, but I've been holding out on that so far. Part of me really wants to meet him just for the sake of it, but I know that's probably not good for me. I have discussed it with my parents and they think that it's not necessary, since I already know that he has cheated on me and there's not much to talk about. And if it's about the divorce, we can talk about it when we are negotiating with a mediator. I don't need to meet him in person without a lawyer for that. But I'm still just kind of curious about what he really wants to talk to me about. So in spite of all the advice that I've been given so far, I might still entertain his request because honestly, I think I'm over him and no matter what he says or does, I'm not going to return to him, so I don't think I have anything to worry about, as such. Update 2. Hey, so I didn't exactly go and meet him, but I did speak to him. It has been 2 weeks since I filed for divorce and I really just need him to respond to the petition so that we can get the proceedings started, and if that happens, we can wrap this up as quickly as possible. Just for that, I texted him back on the account that he was messaging me from and told him that I did not want to see him in person but he could call me. I had unblocked his number just for that purpose. So if he really wanted to speak to me, and if it was an emergency, he could talk to me on the phone because I was not going to go out of my way, just to see him in person. This is the message that I sent him, and within half an hour, he replied, saying that he would really rather do this in person than on a phone call, and I got a little annoyed. So I told him that if he was going to be like that, then I wasn't going to talk to him at all and block this account as well. Within seconds, he had replied saying that he was going to call me. There was no need for me to get upset. It was very weird for me that he was still talking to me in the same way that we used to speak to each other before all of this had happened. But anyway, he then proceeded to call me, and when we spoke, he told me that he just wanted to apologize for everything that had happened and that he had never meant for me to find out. He explained to me that while he was living away, he had discovered that his ex from high school was also living in the same city and she had asked him to meet with her several times and he had declined. But then, he just got so lonely there without me that he couldn't help but agree to meet her. He did not actually have any intention of cheating on me at first and claimed that it just happened out of the blue. But once he had hooked up with her the first time, he couldn't bring himself to stop because he felt like it was necessary for him to be with somebody just to drive away the loneliness. He explained to me that he did not have any real feelings for the other girl and that it was just to cope with his loneliness. And that the person he really just missed a lot, even while he was with his ex, was me, nobody else. But then after he started cheating on me, he started feeling guilty as well, and that's why he became very distant, and he knew that it was his mistake. But he just wanted me to know that he was still in love with me and he regretted everything that he had done. But if I would just think about this from his perspective and maybe try to forgive him, he would really appreciate that. While he was talking to me on the phone and telling me these things, I really just didn't know what to say to him. The sheer audacity to tell me that he was in love with me and he missed me, even when he was cheating on me, was astounding. I couldn't imagine somebody saying these things and thinking that they were completely sensible and logical things. I was speechless, to be honest, so there was complete silence on my end while he was talking. I was feeling angry, obviously, but I was also feeling amused that he thought that this was going to work and that I was going to cancel the divorce and move back in with him. So I let him talk for a while, and then, when he finally went silent, I just said one word, okay. And then I hung up on him abruptly without even giving him a chance to process what I just said. I think it was the perfect response for him because that's really how I felt about whatever he had said. He had said whatever he wanted to tell me and I was okay with it, fair enough, right? He had just confessed that he was still in love with me. It was not necessary for me to feel the same way about him. And if he really loved me, he would understand that and also not have cheated on me. Anyway, I think it was a very satisfying line, and after that phone call, I blocked him immediately so that he wouldn't have the opportunity to speak to me again. And I'm not going to lie, I was low-key proud of myself for dealing with it like this, without any drama or any confrontation. So after that conversation, I called up my friends, and I told them about what had happened, and we had a really good laugh because I'm sure that Greg had been expecting some lengthy conversations and a heart-to-heart discussion about what to do in the future. Well, sorry to burst your bubble, babe. But if you cheat once, you're always going to be a cheater, and I don't need to forgive you for anything or even take into consideration the fact that you still claim to love me. And right now, the only thing that I'm kind of confused about still is why exactly he had wanted to get back together with me and said such things. He looked pretty happy with the other girl in the pictures that I had received, so that part did not make sense to me. Either way, it doesn't matter anymore since we are done, and I'm just hoping that the divorce comes through soon. Update 3. So, it has been 3 days since I last spoke to Greg, and today, I found out that he has finally responded to the petition. He is not going to be contesting the divorce. He has also agreed to certain terms of the divorce, but he believes that he should get to keep the house as it is and not be taking anything with me. I don't think that it's fair because most of the decor of the house and some furniture items were purchased by me and they're quite expensive. We have a couple of paintings and art installations that I want to keep for myself which are in his house right now, so we are going to meet with a mediator for that and see how it goes. I'm hoping that it works out in my favor as well. He's already cheated on me, and I don't think he should get to keep the art in his house as well. Anyway, that's the only bone of contention between us right now, but apart from that, he has agreed to most of the terms and my lawyer and I are setting up a meeting with a court-appointed mediator in a couple of days. I just want to get this over with as quickly as possible because right now, I just want to move on with my life and avoid the drama. The past couple of months have been draining, to say the least. I have also been hearing gossip that he has quit his job and has moved back here, which might explain why he did not want to get divorced because that would also mean spending a lot of money on the lawyer and he probably wants to save right now. My friends have heard a lot of gossips that he has been planning on starting a new business and that's why he's come back after quitting his job, but now, because of the impending divorce, all of his plans have been put on hold and he's really upset about it and can't stop talking crap about me. Good for him, and good for me too. I think I made the right choice by not giving him the chance to speak to me in person because I'm kind of soft-hearted. If I had seen him in person, then it might not have been as easy as it was for me to outright reject him and I might have melted a bit. I'm just glad that I chose to have the conversation on a phone call and avoided the puppy eyes. Ha! I'm also thankful that I don't have to worry about money like he does because I've just been promoted at work and that was just what the doctor ordered. I'm thinking about having a little get-together at my house for my close friends just so we can celebrate this and also my independence. It's been a while since the party and well, that event was not exactly for us to enjoy, but now, I feel like I need a breather and I have an occasion to celebrate, so why not? Update 4. Hi. So a couple of days ago, Greg and I finally met with a mediator. The first meeting went well enough, but that's not what I'm going to talk about here. After we were done, we were leaving and I was heading towards my car, when I realized that his car was parked a little distance away. I could see the girl from the photos, his ex-girlfriend, but I'm guessing now his current, glaring at me from there. I tried to avoid even looking at her because I did not want any drama, but then, she walked right over to me as I was getting inside my car and grabbed me by the arm, and pulled me out, which really pissed me off, so I shoved her and told her to back off. Things got a little heated and she told me that she couldn't even imagine why Greg had been with me in the first place since I was as ugly as I was stupid. She then, out of nowhere, brought up the fact that I was partying while Greg was suffering and said that I should be ashamed of myself. She was referring to the house party that I had a couple of days back to celebrate my promotion at work, which had nothing to do with Greg because we didn't even talk about him there, but she had just assumed that it was about him. I can't blame her, the poor thing is probably just as narcissistic as my ex. Anyway, I told her to leave me alone and flipped her off, but she thought that it would be a good idea to push me and get physical. We got into a bit of a brawl, and Greg had to intervene and pull us off of each other. I'm happy to say that I got a few scratches on her face, but she was able to slap me once. My lawyer was standing nearby and had the good sense to call the police, and when they showed up, I immediately decided that I wanted to press charges. So that's what I did, and all of the other people who had been standing by also agreed that she was the one who initiated the fight and I was just defending myself. As she was being taken away, I told her that she would probably be better off not defending a man who had still been trying to get back with me until a few days back, and if she wanted to, she could have my leftovers, but I would not recommend it to anybody. She was glaring daggers at me but also looked confused when I said that. The last thing that I remember is Greg screaming at me for ruining his life, but I didn't hear much of his rant because I just got in my car and drove back home. Now, whatever happens is their problem.